adjust my tripod really quickly. I almost want to drink water just to clear my throat more now. But I have an amazing breakthrough that I had today. And this was coming from one of my workshops. It's a week long, so I'm basically going to a workshop this whole week. And then next week is optional, they said. But basically, I was talking to a small group instead of doing like one-on-one or just, talking to the teacher. I worked in a small group today. And it was interesting because this is not what the workshop is about, but they were giving like information, numbers, and like if they had links to human service or human rights stuff. Like, excuse me. Okay, so one of them was like, okay, do you have a clothes donation or clothing closet, like clothing pantry? And they helped someone with that. And another person was like, oh, because it was like, oh, this person could use this attire for, work or going to church or whatever, to have like a business casual outfit. That's how they like were able to write it off, I guess, for their company. But it's based around working anyway. So they're like, yeah, you could have this, like pants, slacks for a job interview or just, everyday life. Um, I don't know why I went so in depth to explain that. That's been another thing of mine too that I learned about myself. It's like I go so crazy into the details, almost as if I'm trying to impress myself. And it's like, hey, that person was impressed by you 2 sentences ago, and they're like actively listening to you. Maybe, maybe you should have more self-esteem because you're actually super intelligent and you help people understand material, you know, because it is a workshop again. And then, like, in the small group, I was talking about how one of the therapists that was, oh, hello, forgot to say hi to the chat, but hello. Um, but there is someone who I gave advice to, right? And it was like basically how to, you know, be more confident when you speak to people so that the rest of the lesson, right? But there was a therapist who spoke, right? Getting back on track. There's a therapist who spoke before the class even started because I guess it was one of those like human rights things or human services. Again, I don't know how they call it. Like how they're able to write off all this stuff like food donation, clothing donation. Like they even offered to shuttle people into the class from like the whole city. They're like, if you live in the city that we're having the workshop in, we can give you a shuttle. So I was like, wow, this is really cool, you know, that they have those options for people, right? This is all what I'm observing. But just like with the therapy thing, he was saying, and he had like 10 minutes to talk. So I felt like he could have expounded on this a lot more. That's the whole reason why I'm like, oh, I don't like what he said. But look at this beautiful garden. Um, yeah, it was just cute nature break. I love sunflowers so much. Um, but yeah, so it was saying, hey, people everywhere go through trauma. Like, it could happen to you any day of your life, and everyone in the United States needs therapy. It's literally what he said. That was his, like, opener, right? But then it was like, what else? He said something else in between the point I'm trying to make and that, but it was basically like how there's this book called Your Body Keeps a Score, right? And it's literally about how trauma is stored in your body and how different parts of your body can like teach you how to read your emotions through your body and your body language, and a lot more things, because I didn't finish the book, but it's an excellent book. Everyone who's read it has recommended it. Like it's just so good because it puts physical, emotional, and mental health all together. So again, hello in the chat. Hi. Thank you for the people joining and liking the live. Appreciate it. But again, I'm going to try to keep my what's it called, acknowledgement of the chat to like a minimum, because, and that's the other thing I want to announce with this live, like after thinking about it, I want to try to make lives like episodes so they can build on each other like a podcast. So yeah, that's what I'm going to try to like bring up a topic and then like flesh it out basically. So number two, bringing it to the second point, so that I don't look like I'm just scatterbrained talking about things at rapid fire, things that don't make sense. Because my brain like draws connections sometimes to where they're not connections, and I have to find a way to connect them. That's happened to me so many times where I'm just like, wait a minute, let me just stop jumping to conclusions, you know what I'm saying? And it's really hot outside. I just transitioned my hands, but y'all are gonna see me squint for a lot of this walk to the park. I might get some water even before I start walking around the track. But anyway, so relating the Body Keeps the Score book and what I was talking about with the connections, to all three parts of yourself, your physical, emotional, and spiritual self, right? Oh my gosh, I think I was out of frame for that. Whoops. Let me switch hands. Sorry guys. I was just holding this tripod with my left arm, and I just, for a second, I looked and noticed it was like I saw like my ear in my hat. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I need a cameraman, person, people, place, thing. And they're doing a lot of construction over here. It's interesting, because I haven't walked this street in a few weeks, let's just say. I have not seen this parking lot that they had built or made, however you word it. But anyway, okay, back on track for real. There's just so many things that came together today for me, so I'm like, and then that, and then that, and then that, and it's so interesting because I'm not like this. Normally, I'm a hermit, and normally, I do things that are like habitual, self-care focused, or like a way to clear my energy. And then sometimes what my family, like specifically one, like my mom would be like, oh, do you want to go out to lunch with us later? Or do you want to go to this birthday party? Your family and a few people will be there. That type of thing. But yeah, so the back to this therapist. I'm so sorry. I probably mentioned that 3 times now. Someone in the chat just said, give me a shout out. That's so funny. Like literally the sun is blocking so much of my screen right now, I can barely read it. That's so funny. But anyway, the therapist was like, excuse me, was like, whenever you have a traumatic thing happen to you, you get PTSD from it. So if you encounter something that you haven't encountered in 10 years, but it was around the details of what happened to you traumatically, then, it will be triggered no matter how long ago it was. Because somewhere in your body and your brain is where you noticed and took like a scan or a picture of the information. And he like related to like our brains to being computers. So I was like, this guy is funny, for real. And like programming your mind to be different. I'm like, yep, absolutely. I'm all about that. But then he said, and what happens in your brain is sometimes if you can't remember it, your brain stored it way at the back of your mind and it's just there. And I told the small group, I was like, I was so anxious to like bring up the like my information and stuff I knew because I didn't want to make him look bad. And then he also was like, how much time do I have left? So I was like, if we had more time, I would have definitely like let people ask their questions and then went last type of thing or close to last. But it's like the whole point of the body keeps the score in the book was that there's a emotional and physical connection to your emotions and to trauma, right? And I'm gonna put this back in my right hand. Oh my gosh. I really need to bring sunscreen with me when I'm outside. Last time I walked at the park was 2 hours, and I just remembered that. I'm like, I am tanning, but I also don't want to make my face burnt or like really red for makeup purposes. I don't want to have to put on a lot of makeup. Like I put a light amount on for this workshop this whole week, so I'm waking up earlier too. But yeah, but if we had more time with the therapist, right, in this workshop, I would have went like, yeah, your brain does hold your trauma, right? It definitely does. But at the same time, that book, Your Body Keeps a Score, I forget who the author is, but it was like from a doctor, right? And they wrote this book because it's like your fascia is all of your muscle around you, right? And it's interconnected into every part of your body, right? It's one thing, like one big muscle, or all of your muscles combined would be called the fascia. But anyway, you could look up the medical terminology for it. But from personal training, they taught us biomechanics, right? And your fascia is what holds memory and your pinched nerves and the things that, bring soreness or bring pain or impair you in life in some way, right? So if you release the emotions with somatic therapy or with EMDR therapy by tapping and moving different parts of your body, right, and your skin, then you will release the trauma on an emotional and a physical level, right? So, like literally, he didn't mention that. And most people who are psychotherapists or therapists are literally just there to listen to you and look at you and then tell you what your symptoms are pointing at, like to label you, right? And then therapists, normally they do like talk therapy, CBT therapy, right? And it's like the therapist was sharing how one time he had a client that got mad at him because it wasn't the full information from the story that they told them. But he was like, wait, I'm just going off of my notes here. You didn't tell me, all the information. So it's like, that's a huge, like, plot hole that I think people don't think about when they're thinking about therapy. Because you could literally go to therapy for months and weeks and, however long you go there, right? But if you don't intentionally, like, share every single detail on what happened, then that person could literally give you the wrong advice, you know? And also, if these people are meant to just specifically diagnose your symptoms, right, like a doctor, hey, just, use this for whatever pain you have, right? But like therapists are like, okay, where's your emotional pain? Where's your mental pain, right? And they could prescribe you some shit for that too, obviously, or like refer you somewhere, right? They could just simply like say, hey, you just need life coaching right now. You're not like, too far off in a situation. And then it's like, okay, cool. You could be referred there by a therapist. Um, you know, but I much prefer people know that they could literally heal themselves emotionally from physically moving their bodies. I'd much rather people know that than know that they could pay hundreds of dollars to talk to someone for 6 months and it not change their life. You know what I'm saying? Um, But this is what I told the small group too. And I really wish that I like had more time with this therapist, but it was like I'm trying to remember exactly what he said. I just switched my arms for this tripod here. But it was like something like, oh my gosh, what did he say? I might need a water break. I'm so thirsty. Um, it's also like 95 degrees outside, so the sun is baking me. If y'all were curious. Yeah. So back to what I was saying. So the therapist was like saying how some people don't tell them the full story, so they can't really help them as much as they need to, but also, um, like everybody is traumatized in a way, so don't think that you're just, like bad or horrible. So it was like some encouraging things in there too. So I was like, okay, this is cool. But also with what I was saying about personal training and moving your body, it's like um I was telling them like the breakdown of the brain and where it actually stores the trauma is like your amygdala and your fight or flight are triggered when a traumatic thing or something that brings you PTSD later on in life happens. Let me just stand up my tripod really quick. Actually, because this was a good technique I used last time I was at the park. I'm sweating, oh my gosh. Thank you for the likes again. I appreciate it. Um, okay, cool. But I was saying like how your amygdala and your fight or flight is literally triggered in your brain. And what that does is trauma. And when you're triggered, like that's stored in your hips. Like for everyone, trauma is literally stored in your hips. So the more that you do movement to loosen or widen the range of movement for your hips, the more that you release stress, pain, tension, trauma, anything that happened to you in your life. It's literally stored memory. Like we're saying, how the body keeps the score in your life. No matter what happens to you, your body's going to keep that memory and record that event that happened. And whenever you get triggered, it's like a whole chain of reaction. Like a whole bunch of things happen. Like I would need a graph to like actually break it down, because it's like this fires and this fires and this happens and this is tightened. So it's like whenever you get that like trigger of that amygdala and that fight or flight reptilian brain, like am I safe or am I not safe? That goes into the fight or flight. If you're not safe from something that gave you, a traumatic like loop in your mind, right? Whatever it is, you can be traumatized based on how sensitive you are too. Like that's a whole part of human psychology and mental health that is not touched on as much either. This water feels so good. Thank you so much for the likes. I appreciate it. Um, but yeah, so it's like the more that you get triggered, the more that your nerves and your muscles are tense or tightened up, and the more your brain goes back to this memory um, that's stored in your body, right? So the more that you do, for example, Hinduism, right? What do they practice? Meditation and yoga, right? So those are things that simultaneously make you focus on yourself, but not the yourself, yes, like you personally, but also like yourself observing your life. Because that's what meditation is. It's like they teach you to be the observer and to be silent and just look at the memory or look at the train of thought until it goes away, or until you feel like you have enough power to like command your mind to like not have intrusive thoughts anymore, basically. But it's like there's so much wisdom in yoga itself, because there's yoga like for emotional yoga, like there's a meditation and yoga for like both. I meant to say meditation and yoga separately. They both provide like a mental clearing of like energy, or a mental clearing of blocks. But there's like meditations and yoga for compassion, for releasing shame, for um, what is it called? Like holding more joy, holding happiness within you. Like there's so many different types of like spiritual connections in Hinduism that it's like I don't understand how people everywhere haven't adopted it. Like there's no extremism also. Like that further proves my point about the mental and emotional regulation that meditation and yoga does, right? Because it's like oh my gosh, it's like so many connections are made honestly today. Like I'm still trying to figure out how to word it, but it's like Hinduism literally teaches you how to meditate and how to do yoga and how to like not take things personally, right? So it's literally oh my gosh, I'm sweating under my glasses. But it's literally teaching you how to transform your mind and become a new person, right? And back to that thing, when you form a new mind, right? When you decide to like literally not listen to your ego, not take things personally, not do things out of malice, right? You become the person that forms a new mind, no matter what your upbringing, your childhood, your school age days, no matter what that genetically, right? Memory links, right? Um, no matter what happened, in your upbringing and what formed you, you could still create a new mindset or a new way of living your life, which creates a new mind. So it's vice versa. You can either change your mind or your lifestyle, right? But they both intertwine with Hinduism because it's like you can do these things and create a new mindset, which then reflects in your life, which then changes your habits, which then opens up for more gratitude in your life, right? And the less things that you do that trigger your past or that trigger the upbringing that you didn't like or you didn't prefer, let's just say, someone could still feel like they're traumatized, quote unquote, if they're not living the life that they know they're meant to live, like imposter syndrome, masking, all of those things, living inauthentically also gives you trauma because it's like your spirit telling you, like, hey, you literally need to live life differently. Like, I'm gonna have this longing and aching in my soul, and I'm gonna feel uncomfortable in the environments I'm not meant to be in until I start going back inward. So that's the other thing, like if you literally release those habits and those things that do nothing for you, that are not healthy, right, and you meditate and you do yoga and you're active in your life, you will literally start to think differently. And within thinking differently, your body's going to be like, oh, they just what is it, neuroplasticity, right, where you do subtle small actions that lead up to a change that repairs I believe it's called neurons, but it repairs brain cells and neurons to where they either fuse back together or form a completely different like bonded cell, right? But it's like your brain repairs itself because you are deciding to repair your body or your spirit, vice versa, right? It all interconnects, like I said. Um, so I'm like getting all these things, and I didn't speak to the small group about Hinduism, but I was like, it's trauma does live in your brain, and your body does keep the score, but it's literally, like I explained, the amygdala gets triggered, which triggers your fight or flight. If you're not safe or you don't feel safe, then your hips and your back tighten. Like those muscles tighten until you do enough movement or enough things in life that loosen up your hips and just your whole lower body. Hypothetically, I would say if you live intentionally every single day and work out your core and your legs and like the bottom half of your body, and meditate for 1 hour, and um, go outside for a walk for 30 minutes, you will literally have a different mindset. Like, I can guarantee that. Like, literally, my whole experience with Hinduism wasn't even like I saw that and I was like, yeah, let me jump into it. Like I've been exposed so many times to Hinduism, like with the names, with the statues and the figures and the historical things too. But it's like I got into Buddhism, and then Buddhism brought me to Hinduism because Buddhism is a school within Hinduism. Like it's a child of Hinduism, right? And let me throw this away because I'm about to really get deep on this. Okay, I'm telling y'all, it gets really deep, for real. Um, so what was I saying? Yeah, so when I got into Buddhism last year, it was literally after I had an accident. I fell down the stairs of an Amtrak with luggage on me, but there's a whole long segment to get into and how I found Buddhism that way. But basically, I went to a festival in the city that I was living in at that time, and it was last year too. I haven't even been a Buddhist for a year, um, so it's kind of funny. Um, but it's August, so that's why I'm saying like it's crazy. It hasn't even been a year. Um, but yeah, so I basically found someone who was speaking about it and had like a pamphlet and passing out little glass bead and NGs, right? And I showed my NNG on a live stream before, but if you're not familiar, it's a bracelet, basically, right? It could have any number of beads on it because those are different historical things as well, the number of beads. But basically, you need 3 beads that are bigger and stand out, and they represent the Buddha, the Sangha, which is the community, and the Dharma, which is the teachings. And they're normally like, different spread out points. It's not like 3 beads next to each other. So when you look at it and you meditate and you look at it or you feel it on your hand, it like is a significance to it. Um, so that's like the historical and the cultural thing for Buddhism is the Enenji. But I was going to a Shinto, um, what's it called, temple at the time. So I was still practicing some traditions that may seem Western or more loose for Buddhism, because then it's like back to Hinduism. There's Jainism, Sikhism, Buddhism, and another one. I'm not familiar completely, but I've also never read any Hindu historical texts, and I'm just now reading the Ashkavakra Gita. So that's the only thing I've read. I will say that. Just a disclaimer, because obviously, if I've read the Bhagavad Gita in whole, I definitely want to make a live about that. So, yeah, um, but I know there's like a few lessons um, from Krishna and Arjun that I've heard about, and I think that's like the beginning chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. So I do know some of it. So just saying that I'm not a Hindu expert. I'm literally speaking on my experience alone. But Sikh people are some of the quietest and kindest people I've ever worked with. I have never dated a Sikh person or known them from family origin, but I have worked with some people who were Sikh, and um, again, it's like Hinduism is like literally the religion of peace. I feel like, and it's inner peace, like that nirvana, right? So Jainism is like we don't eat anything that would cause harm to another being. So they're vegan, and they fast a lot. They're almost like ascetic level, I believe. Buddhists are basically ascetics when it comes to meditation and fasting. But with Jainism, it's like we don't do harm. We don't like, completely non-violent, obviously. Sikhs, the difference is with Sikhs, they will do something violent to protect someone else because their belief is that we are the representation of God, so we will handle conflict if absolute necessary. And they also have like a blade sword on their side for protection, but there's a specific name culturally for that. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not the expert on these things, but this is what I do know from what I've encountered and like what's yeah, what I've come encounter with basically. Like what's encountered with me, what I've encountered with. Um so yeah, and then the other part um is Buddhism is like the Eightfold Path, historical figures, cultural impact type of thing. Just like as we all know, Yeshua Hamashiach, very cultural, very impactful person. Musically, someone like that would be Michael Jackson. Like we still about them to this day. That's the standard. Like that's the benchmark. Everyone was influenced by them, or what they stood for, type of thing, what they showed the world. So yeah, but basically, Hinduism from the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas and other holy texts had Hinduism birthed these four, I believe, but three that I can remember off the top of my head. But I'm pretty sure it's a fourth school. Um, but they birthed Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, and something else. Um, and yoga was a big part of that. Your posture, the way that you move your body, the way that you stretch, all of those things, right? Your habits, the patterns that you have, right? Everything that you did physically affected your life. And there, like again with the meditation and yoga, there's so many exercises to just work on. Um, what's it called? Improving your mental health, right? Like improving your inner child, improving your ambitious self, improving your willpower, your life force, your energy, all those things. Like it's really amazing. But there's also like deity yoga, right? You can do meditation in the form of yoga or channeling in certain yoga poses, right? The mudras, all of those things came from Hinduism, right? The statues that would hand up for protection, hand out like this, palm up for peace with your hand. But the specific left and right hands are also significant for things, right? These things, right? They're all important, right? The almost planking level, I believe. It's a little ballet there for y'all. um, but yeah, basically, like all of those things were so culturally impactful that there are no extremists. Like back then, it was, oh, we went to war with this other country for our beliefs, but like now, who is a Sikh or a Hindu or a Buddhist and they've started war? None of them. Literally, none of them have started war. So they are the most peaceful religion, right? Um, but also it's like some people see those as ways of living life or philosophy. So it's even impactful beyond religion. Like even if you don't believe in a certain god or multiple gods or one god or just one supreme creator, it surpasses the religious box because you could use it in your everyday life. You could use it in your family life and your romantic life and your job space. Like all of these things connect to where it's universal, to where some philosophies or some religions or some practices of how they live life, let's just say, right? Some of them literally restrict other people's behavior or other people's actions based off of what they believe. So like even when I'm talking about Hinduism and I'm speaking about these things, it's because it transcends a label or a box, right? So that's the important part of like linking the emotional health and the physical health is that it transcends one thing. So I would recommend everyone who's like has developmental issues, behavioral health issues, mental challenges, abandonment wounds, father wounds, mother wounds, whatever it is, like study and look into Hinduism like genuinely, because it speaks about when your mind is confused, and it also speaks about how to like trust yourself more so that you're able to navigate life. And um even if you're someone who's like, I don't focus on the past, I'm past my trauma, I've healed that part of myself, I'm doing things that I like doing and that bring pleasure in my life. I moved on from that, but I'm not where I want to be. Still, like, if your mind is confused or your mind is heavy or your mind isn't able to be like as clear as it needs to be, right? Like snappy, then it's still a matter of like valuing Hinduism, but especially the Bhagavad Gita, because that is the book itself that people like recommend if someone's confused or like conflicted mentally. Um, and the other thing is, if something transcends religion, it should automatically like be adopted philosophically as well, because if it's able to like go with every single person in the world, no matter where they live, no matter what their culture, I think that should surpass a religion at that point and be adopted um, philosophically um, as well. Obviously, my personal beliefs, um, but I also know not everyone is educated. So that's another reason why I'm doing this live stream, obviously, to talk to people, obviously to engage, right? But the other thing is, it's like that example of sex education class in high school, right? Or if you were introduced in middle school, I don't discriminate however old you were, right? Whenever you learned it, right? It wasn't like the actual thing, and the actual things that you needed to learn, you didn't learn in a class environment, right? I'm not going to get too deep on that, but I don't know about monetization or anything here, right? Um, but it's a thing about what you expected and what you learned from a class was not what you took away, or when you got more experience is not that advice was not helpful, like looking back at it, like looking at hindsight, as they say. um but it's like a thing about you needing more detail or more in depth to the process of being a human being. And like I just shared, obviously do research for yourself. If you know someone who knows more, or a librarian, or someone who's like read these books and they can pass it to you, obviously go with them. Go with a person at your temple, right? Again, I have not been a Buddhist for even 1 year yet. So it's funny. But again, like my brain just latches onto things, like I was saying. Like I get so many connections, but like this was like a clear download, like a breakthrough moment in class today, because it's like there was someone that was there with their mother, right? And they were listening to me speak and give advice, but they're also a nurse. So or like a professional nursing assistant or like healthcare assistant. Yeah, it was something like professional healthcare assistant, because they were not a nurse. I remember I asked them, I was like, "Are you a nurse?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "Are you RNA?" No. But yeah, so this like she was even listening intently to what I was saying about the body and the mental connection, right? But that's the other thing, like if you get, because this is really why I don't mess with like Western medicine, but like just doctors in general. If it doesn't have a specific title in front of it, I don't trust you. I don't believe you. You have nothing to share that I wouldn't know about myself already, right? That's my thing. But I've literally also recorded a whole session. Like I had I was testing out my hand one mic, right? And I just put it in my purse and I was recording everything that I was doing that day. And one of them was visiting a doctor. He was my primary at the time, primary care doctor. And he was just asking me a bunch of questions. And it's like, I'm not going there continuously, like following up for years. So he's asking me a bunch of things that two other people asked me. So I was frustrated already, man. Already. But this was after the train accident. So I literally, like, I needed to see a doctor for all of my referrals I needed, right? Um, but the other thing was that, what should I call it? And this is why I'm bringing up this recording, because he was telling me things that was based off of like older uh, European males and whatever they wrote and whatever their philosophy was, right? And then that has been some of the standards, like text and ways that they train people for certain universities and certain colleges, so it just doesn't change unless there's something like, hey, this year, a few months ago, these, or this last year, it has to be recent, like study that comes out. This is actually, here's the research, here's the clinics, here's the studies, boom, this is this way. Then people aren't going to change their minds, like literally they're not. And that is why being a life coach and a personal trainer gives me like such a bird's eye view of like everything there and all the tools that I could use, right? But Hinduism is literally like what bridged everything together. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to genuinely have a business or like a book or some like rubric, some way of measuring like any human being and being able to help them with those three skills. Like within Buddhism, obviously, like that's what I'm saying. Like I'm a Buddhist. I'm not really saying I'm a Hinduist, but at the same time, it's like ultimately everyone believes in a little bit of Hinduism. Like everyone obviously knows karma is real, so they believe it. Just like um, it's like everybody's like, oh yeah, be loving, kind to everyone. We are all one. Peace over everything, love over everything. Talking too fast. But then it's like there's obviously a lot of like Christian Catholic influence. So there are certain practices that are literally a combination of Hinduism and something else. Or it's not called Hinduism, but it's from something else that was mainstream, led back to Hinduism. Just like with the Eye of Nazar and the Hand of Hamza and the Eye of Nazar together. Those are from Middle Eastern countries of origin, obviously, but when they were more mainstream or more profitable um, to sell, for some reason, we just moved culture out of the way and put the money in, and I think that's a lot of why people are confused because they're not culturally adapted to like how their spirit, body, and laws, rules of religion or culture or how they live their life genetically, whatever it is, right? You know, there are certain stereotypes, but these are genetic things too. Like if someone, for example, was to bring up China, they would say the way that they parent is strict, the way that they teach is very critical and more in depth than other countries, other European Western countries, right? Um, and they want everyone to be the most hardworking and hard earning out of everyone they know and their family, right? So that what is that? It's a lawyer. That's a doctor. That's a um, personal accountant for someone rich, right? It's things like that that require a lot of your time, a lot of your brain, a lot of energy, with a lot of feedback. Obviously, you get feedback with money, you get feedback with reviews, you get feedback with people's lives sometimes, right? Uh, but either way, the medical or the legal field in some form, or just straight up government employee, right? Um, but that's everyone's gonna pick that. But I'm saying specifically, these are people who are overachieving, hyper independent, and people who have the level of community, most importantly, to back everything that they're doing. I'm like wiping sweat as I'm speaking. I'm realizing I'm like moving around everywhere, so I apologize. Um, Hopefully this message didn't come across as rambly and like quick off the dome. As before, it's been what was it, 44 minutes. Um, I'm like, wait, there's nobody in this park. Um, so I'm gonna keep walking actually. Move to a different bench. But that's the thing. Like literally, that's the thing. If people knew that they could heal themselves from moving their body and literally releasing that mindset of the past, you're a new person. You're a new person anyway every 7 years because like all of your cells and everything regenerates by that time, like your skin, your hair, everything. But um, like you literally can become a new person by releasing trauma from your body and developing a new mindset. So it's Hinduism covers everything on all fronts as well because there's no harm, no injustice, things like that. Um, so yeah, I think that again, a lot of people are not educated, but a lot of people also don't understand the options that they have to know themselves, that they have to heal themselves, that they have to um, really connect with their spirit. Um, so yeah, that's my level of awareness and thinking. Like, everything that comes with a life coach, everything that comes with a personal trainer, everything that comes with a meditation, um, spiritual counselor, that type of thing. Like, but in general, I don't know if I said this on live, but in general, I want to be someone whose title is aura specialist because within emotional health and mental health and physical health and spiritual health, all of those things, right? All of those things interact with your aura, right? And this is where like physics, metaphysics, the occult kind of like comes together for me because in general, but for me specifically, like this is what I've been learning for years, years, literally years. Like if you resonate with someone who's like 2020 during the pandemic, 2018, like whenever around that time between 2018 and 2020, all of us, like I'm looking around because I almost yelled even though like no one's around, like one neighbor's outside. But all of us between 2018 and 2020 had a level of spiritual awakening, right? Had a form of like this isn't real life, like that profound shift in the way that they think about things that changed their mind, that it shifted their spirit, right? This is another reason why I was saying like everything builds on each other because when one thing happens that flips your life upside down, or if one thing happens that trickles and affects everyone around you, then that's enough for trauma to form, right? So spiritually, mentally, the pandemic and just those years that Trump was in office, right? So 2018 to 2020, that time period and everything that happened during that time period was like basically we saw how other countries took care of their citizens, right? How they paid for groceries, how they paid for childcare services, how they had people working from home, right? And then what happened in the States? If you live in the States and you know, right? Or if you travel in the States, you had to have a mask and a little card with vaccinations on it. And like literally the way that society operated changed. So that was enough to shift our lives, which was enough to create trauma in the way that we interact with community. Because a lot of, you know, passing aways, let's just say, right, happened. So it was like a thing about are we safe in our own society? Are we safe in our own neighborhood? Are we safe in our own job? The places that we're at for hours and hours a day, like, could affect our health, which could affect everything, right? Because some people, they were merely traumatized because a job of theirs that they were working at closed, and potentially they couldn't find work for another year, right? So that's what that's unemployment. That's not being able to meet your needs every day. That's not living comfortably, right? So that's enough again to create a shift in your life, to create PTSD, to move your spirit, right? So it was a shift for sure that was negative. Like it affected everyone in a negative way. And still to this day, like the way that certain people like view society, the way that certain people view coming together, the way that certain people um, talk about those years, just in general, just 2019, 2020, 2021. Some people even didn't have business until 2022 again. So these are major losses as a whole, as a collective. Like everyone was affected, and everyone you don't know. Sorry, I meant to word it that way. Everyone you know and don't know was affected by what happened, right? So that's something that was a big event that created a lot of trickling events, a lot of chain reactions, right? And what I hope to achieve, again, either by writing a book or with content like this, like obviously I like going live. It's so easy. You just push record and stop recording, right? Um, but it's like, and put a title on it, right? But it's something that I want to share to the world to be like, hey, even if these big like events happen that trickle down and affect everyone and create like a ripple effect or a domino effect, like whatever, however you want to word it, right? But I want to be able to have something that proves to the world that's like, hey, if you do this, this, and this together for 6 months to a year, you will be a different person and you will be healed, quote unquote, right? There's no position that a human being, right, let's just say, could have that could stamp you as a healer, right? That could stamp you as someone who literally changed someone's life irreversibly for the better. But I do think it is possible. I just don't think that human beings actually acknowledge those people who do, um, again, like healing, but do that level of work on that big of a scale. You know what I'm saying? Because like someone could literally, again, going back to that conversation with that therapist before the workshop started, like a therapist could listen to someone and then do EMDR therapy, right? For people who have PTSD or complex PTSD, or just what is it called, like prolonged traumatic abuse. But either way, any of those people can do EMDR therapy, right? But that's also people who are mentally injured. Because I don't believe in mental illness, right? But mentally injured, like someone who is bipolar, someone who has PTSD from the military, someone who has CPTSD from life in general, someone who was physically traumatized, right? Someone with heavy abandonment wounds. Like all those things are really deep and below surface level, like they're layered, right? But if someone were to do EMDR therapy and help them like with pressure points and going through the meridian lines on our face and our body, right? But that's one of the mental components. There's like 3 or 4 different components, right? But one of them, which is a big part, is like the EFT tapping on your face with certain pressure points, and it triggers something in your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, because it's again like the body, the memory, um, the fascia that holds the tissue, that holds the memory, right? What I broke down earlier. Um, what was I saying? I was talking about something else. Oh yeah. So whenever you are triggered, right, you can do things somatically and with EFT tapping and with like rapid movements, um, in general. But with this therapist, right, EMDR therapy can literally help you remove that mental block from your brain from what created trauma. So it clears up your memory, first of all, right? You remember everything and you also release it. So maybe that's 2 things, but that's the one big thing. And the second thing is it teaches you about EFT tapping, which teaches you about, again, about how the body keeps the score, but how to do it yourself whenever you feel triggered, or whenever you're in that same type of situation where that happens and you remember, whatever happened to you, right? Everybody's different, obviously, but I'm just speaking in general terms so you guys could like understand, uh, like the message. Oh my gosh, I've almost been live for an hour. But yeah, like it teaches you how to self-soothe, how to remember things fully, how to release the emotional memory from your body, and it teaches you how to do this in a safe space. So you also just have someone who is encouraging you to heal in a way, encouraging you to release that and be a happier person. Um, so I think it's quite interesting. Um, but therapy in general isn't even advertised the way that it's needed to be, and the way that it is privatized is really a shame. It's really sad, but I don't want to get my video or my live flagged, or like people like misinformation. Oh my gosh, like I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure, for sure. Like I don't work in that department. I have no idea, right? But I think that if people literally wanted a society that would operate at its capacity, or at least at a functionality that works for everyone, I feel like therapy is needed. But more importantly, therapy is like something that's not just verbal, something that you can interact with yourself, if that makes sense. Um, but also, I want to find a way to have like a space where I'm gonna walk on this, because I have been standing here for a while. So let me move benches really quick. Oh, this tripod is so hot. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Um. Oh, I'm literally blind again now, guys. I cannot see. The sun is on me. I'm literally sweating right now. I mean, hold on. I'm not even gonna wear my glasses. Um. Sweating. Okay. Anyway, so let me make sure I'm in frame. Okay. So, what was I just about to dive board off into? Um. Springboard into. Um. Man, it's literally so hot outside. My brain is pausing. Okay, hold on, let me think. So, I was talking about emotional, physical connection, healing. Oh, yeah, so I would want a place or like a program that you could put into schools or like buildings. Something that applies to everyone, right? But a building or a facility that is dedicated to helping people just be in society and do like neutral things, like horseback riding together in a group, or picking up litter together in a group, or going on a hike together in a group. But that's also situational. But that would also be nice, like field trip, like, oh, we're gonna go on a hike as a group as a trust exercise, type of thing. But yeah, the other thing is like all of these activities are technically trust exercises with society. So it's like you can do this thing where you learn to meditate in a group class, in a group environment. Or you can go on a hike, right, in a group setting or in a group led exercise, right? Because I don't want it to end up being rock climbing. That's why I'm saying it like that, right? Like you're going off site into nature, into the forest, not to a controlled environment where don't have the real, like, natural reflexes and experiences and things like that. I'm talking about like, hey, let's go to a waterfall and let's hike there, or let's go up to the mountains or this wildlife refuge, stuff like that, right? But it's like, oh my gosh, it's a huge cicada. Literally, oh my gosh. Actually, it's the shell of one. It's the shell they shed. I forgot that. But yeah, that was a crazy big cicada shell. Okay, yeah, so that was the other thing. Really quick. It was like, I want people to learn how to live in society naturally by doing like trust exercises, and then also learning how to use different parts of nature, like different elements, to ground themselves. So it's like two ways of being grounded, like in a human way with society, with connection with experiences, right? Getting out of your comfort zone, not being afraid of certain things. just because they're inaccessible or look unattainable. Um, and yeah, and then like using the elements to ground and um, like energetic clearing, like burning sage, burning Palo Santo, um, burning incense, stuff like that. It's like that's a way to use the element of fire, right? And I hate seeing people litter so bad. I'm gonna prove a point. Literally on my live stream, picking up this styrofoam cup. Glasses fell out. I'll put them in my pocket. Actually, it's a great reminder. 1 second. Yeah, so I wanna, oh my gosh, the grasshopper flew right past me. So I want to help people find a way to use the elements. So like, okay, for example, water, right? What do people do after they work out? They use a sauna to open up their pores and help their muscles loosen up from the heat, right? So a sauna is a good one, right? Or, what is it called? Like those cryo chambers where they like freeze you, basically. I'm pretty sure that's the gist of it, but it's like negative degrees or negative temperatures, to where your muscles and your nerves shock your homeostasis levels, and it like calms you down just from kids are wild, from being in a colder environment. So it's like all of your body has to focus on homeostasis also, so it like lowers your energy levels as well. So yeah, anyway, that's a way to use like water, or the element of water in a sense. But there's like water cleansings, there's spiritual baths, there's things that people literally can use no matter the gender, no matter what you're doing in life, right? Another one like grounding would obviously being like gardening, group gardening, box bed gardening, or walking barefoot on the grass, putting your hands, like your palms and the bottoms of your feet, putting that in like dirt and in the ground and sand, anything like that. I'm trying to think of the wind besides like skydiving, but it's like also just standing out when it's really windy, or going on a hike when it's really windy. Doing those things also move the energy from you, from your aura, right? And then what else? Fire, water. Well, yeah, that's all 4 elements. But also with spirit is like you connecting with yourself, you empowering yourself, you remembering things. Like all of those elements are important. Um, but I don't know, because it's also like a thing where I want to teach women as well, like sacred rage and like the other electromagnetic field, aka their aura. The other electromagnetic field they have with having a womb, because your heart is your #1 electromagnetic field, right? The thing that creates electricity, that uses electricity to run, right? Another thing about people not knowing enough of their bodies, but literally think about it. What do we use to shock the heart, or to bring someone back after their heart stops, the heart attack, whatever it is, right? We use a AED shock system, right? Or CPR. That's breathing air back into you, or shocking your heart with voltage enough to work again on its own, right? Either have someone breathe into you until you can breathe again, or someone else shocks you until your shocking abilities come back on. So we are electromagnetic. We are electricity and energy and movement with mass on top of it, and a brain that remembers things and feels emotions and thinks. All of those complex things boil down what a human being is, basically, because sometimes if you are brought up differently or brought up with traumatic experiences, like I just broke down for, what is this, an hour and 4 minutes, hour and 5 minutes now. But um, the way that your brain thinks and comprehends life and views relationships and interacts in these different environments with these different outcomes happening, right? With nothing being permanent, right? Then that's how you start to form personalities. That's how you start to form personality. That's how you start to form characteristics and character. That's how you start to judge others in the world. That's how you start to strategize. That's how literally you interact with everything. Even you interacting with yourself in a positive or negative way was from your upbringing, was from your environment, was from society. Look at that lovely sun. So, in turn, right? Intern, right? Because it's not just a sob story. It's not just, oh, well, you're done. Like, I'm literally trying to set this up for everyone, right? But if those things happen to you, no matter what age, no matter how old you are, mentally, physically, whatever it is, right? You can retrieve a part of your mind or your whole mind by grounding, by meditating, by thinking differently. So, to form that untraumatized new mindset, right, we come together and either decide to go to the doctor, go to a therapist, go to a religious person, right, like a clergy member, or witch doctor or tarot reader, whatever you go to, right? Again, you could just meditate, whatever floats your boat, right? But the thing is, you can get into a new community, make different habits, move your body differently, and daily, consistently, you will change your mind. Right? And when you change your mind is when you change your life. Okay? Because when you change your life, that means you change your mind. You don't just do something differently out of the blue. You do something differently because that's the way your brain is processing things. Okay? This is so important to me. This is everything I'm passionate about, conjuncting, coming together, coming to surface. Right? So, this is something obviously you can tell I'm passionate about, obviously, right? But this is something that I want people to listen to, come back to, right? Take notes if you need, if you haven't experienced this, right? But I'm literally someone who, and multiple people like professionals have said this, I'm someone who has had CPTSD, complex, there's sweat on my lips, sorry, PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. It is something you can heal, despite what a psychologist or a psychotherapist or a life coach would say, right? You can heal bipolar, and it's not with a pill, okay? That's what I'm talking about. You can heal schizophrenia, and it's not with a pill, and it's not with a mental institution. This fly literally jumped on me, on my leg on the bench. But you can heal childhood insecurities. You can, more than just going to the gym, more than just flexing on people. You can live a balanced life without having to completely sacrifice yourself, without having to completely be the same you, the same version of yourself every single day that people have relied on and knew in the past. You could change anything, anytime, anything you want about yourself, literally, but make it for the better. That is my thing with sharing this information. Make it for the better, right? Don't listen to what I'm saying and do the inverse of it, because I don't want you to take this information and flip it, and now you have a negative perception of your life, and now you have negative thoughts, and now you have just a bad look on your life. I don't want people to do that, right? I want the very same thing that all of the ascended masters, angels, beings of light, all of them wanted. I literally want humanity to rise. I literally want people to believe in themselves again. I literally want people to be authentic. And that is originally the other thing I took from the workshop. It's only been 2 days, mind you. Again, 1 week on this. less than a year on Buddhism. But I'm literally coming together with so many different thoughts about life. And it's so interesting because it's like, I can also like connect memories now or things that I didn't understand before. And that's the other thing that pays off because this workshop has been ways to become more confident in myself, to practice what I've learned, and to also like do a life review in a certain particular aspect of my life, mind you. Like it's specific topics, but it's like on paper I look fantastic, but I don't advertise myself that way. Like on paper, I have so many skills. Like I keep talking about personal training, but life coaching is such a big skill. Life coaching and personal training and an advanced diploma from high school and a technical vocational degree of TV and film broadcasting and a 8-month study of audio engineering. Like I can make a whole TV show and put these segments and these thoughts together and just like literally inform so many people, impact so many people. But it's like I'm trying to just connect everything together because again, like I said, what I wanted to do in life. But ultimately, it's not to make a kids cartoon. I just think that putting things in a very simple way, like religion does, I will give religion that. Like it puts things extremely simply, too simply, obviously, but it puts it in a way that people understand it. Like it's simple terms, it's simple things to do in a community, and it's a simple way of living life. It's not complex. You don't join a religious community of any faith and your life becomes more complex. Like, no, if anything, it becomes easier, it becomes less tense when you do so. So I get the appeal, totally get the appeal. Um, but it's like I'm combining science and metaphysics and biomechanics and emotional intelligence and my life experience, really, when doing these things. Um, because like the other thing that people don't realize is that CPTSD, not to make it about myself at all, I'm just sharing this example, right? But CPTSD can literally branch into any level of mental injuries, right? Um, and then that could lead to people not being able to function in society or in their relationships in general. So I'm someone who literally went through different parts of my life, was on different substances, was living with, so many different people. Like, I've never lived anywhere longer than 3 years. I'm 26, so I've moved around more than one hand can count. I'm literally like feeling my sweat. I'm not crying. I don't even know what it looks like. But it's like I'm someone who had CPTSD, that it went into quiet BPD, um, and then it was like manic depression. Really, is what it was for a certain period of my life. But other times it was like I don't want to make a relationship. I only want to talk to this one person. F society. And then other times in my life it was like, why am I doing this effed up job? Um, you know, or other times I was just unemployed. But the point is, like, I've gotten to very serious, deep parts of myself. That the education happened when it happened, like at the perfect time for my life to be able to interpret it, um, and like latch onto it. But also, these were ways for my mind to never like fully shrink up and close and like shut out society, because I went through a school of training that led to me being a life coach, but also like technologically, right? Like with me creating content, I could have created content before getting a certification. Like, I'm not going to say going to trade school did that for me, but it helped me learn different things, obviously, and come out of my comfort zone, most importantly, because I did that, both of those schools, right, and certifications in Chicago, Illinois. Um, and there was a point where both of the schools, they were overlapping. Like, I had to go to, both classes, both events and things that they did. Um, obviously, and like travel there. So that was a big part of my life. And then the pandemic happened. And it like again traumatized society, like changed how society worked and operated and believed in itself. And it is a scar on humanity. It is a mark in the timeline, if you want to put it like scientifically, um, you know. But there are things that are coming together that are clicking in place for people. And I'm sharing everything that I know, obviously. Like, I didn't just make any of this up. I have gone through a lot that's led up to this. So, yeah, if you're someone who does not know me personally, yes, you do now, basically. Um, this is literally everything I'm passionate about in life and the last few years of my life coming together in this one live stream. Um, Obviously, the rest of the stuff I know from my spiritual mentorship and stuff that I did, but that is stuff you would have to pay for, obviously. Unless the whole world became one, I'd be like, this is everything I know. I've contributed to humanity now. And it's funny that all this releasing and removing the ego is like almost giving me the biggest ego, not spiritually obviously, but like giving me this like, oh well, if I'm a human being and I have to be a human being, and I'm stuck in this loop, whatever the thought is, right? But if I were a human being and that's all I knew how to be and that's all I knew my future would be, I would be the best human being that actually lived life and supported what they practice. um, Therefore, I contributed to making the world a better place. So, and it's literally sweat. I'm not crying. So yeah, that's my whole like just strained stream of thought, however you want to word it. Um, and the other part of this stuff that I'm talking about, like, oh, I learned things spiritually that I would not, just say out and about, out front, out in public. But I have been targeted. I have been followed. I have been stalked. I've had my if again again if y'all did not know me from TikTok and follow my YouTube link from there, I had to delete my account because they were flagging and removing my posts, and all of that was stressful, obviously, to being someone who's trying to be an influencer. But now I'm just like, hey, when I learn something, I'm gonna share it. Bottom line, even if I'm not getting paid, even if I'm, this is not a career of mine. Um, that's really what I wanted it to be. Like, I wanted to become a YouTuber when I was younger. But it's like, if I could become a YouTuber and affect society with everything I've been through in life, like, obviously in a positive way, right? But everything I've learned, everything I've been through, everything I'm connecting as well, like, intuitively, and I can help society, then it's like, yeah, that's what I want to do. But there are people and companies, spiritually, right, saying that they do not want people to excel. They want people to become sick, dependent on them. So when you're stalked, when your posts are flagged, when your YouTube or whatever social media you have, when these things like interact with you in a different way than just, hey, this is normal, get views, get reaction, stay consistent, post, become a YouTuber, do that as a job, be secure in life, live life as a YouTuber in the end, happy ending. You can die in peace, like stuff like that. That's literally what I thought of, like in high school. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna become a YouTuber and that's it. I'm like, now I'm just like, okay, the internet is different, society is different, the way that I view myself is different. It's in a heightened way, but it's very different than before. So it's like I'm also like having to break through layers of like self-doubt in posting what I know, in just sharing these streams of consciousness. But I honestly think that it's the best thing to do. So as a human being, like, share knowledge, share what you learn, because that's literally what I've done my whole life, for the most part, I will say. But Like, because some lessons I didn't know and then I went through it and I knew better, like from experience. But from what I have either intuitively picked up on or what I knew, like, let's just say, for example, a job. Like, you're training someone for a job, but you know a lot of tricks and tips and things about the job because you've worked there for 6 months. So you're training the new person and you're informing them basically. Obviously, you're training them, right? So it's like you're teaching them on a different level, but it's from what you know. It's not from malicious anything. It's not trying to trick them. It's not going by company policy. It's, hey, this will make the job easier even if the policy says this or that. This is what the company does. This is what our store does. So take that as you will, apply to as you will, right? But um, that's what I do intuitively, or when I learn something, I try to tell people. And if they listen, I tell them more. If they don't listen, I just kind of like rebuttal whatever their like thing is from not listening. But if they don't respond, obviously I'll just plant the seed. If they want to put it in their head, they can, and I leave it. If I plant the seed and they don't pick up the seed and they leave it to dry and it withers away, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But the idea and the thought and the connection that I give to you is up to you to maneuver it in your life. If you want to take half of what I said and apply it to your life and have a better life, amazing. If you want to take 20% of what I said and apply that to a specific area in your life and that issue is solved, or that doesn't, like, it doesn't become a problem because of what you applied, amazing, right? If you apply everything that I said and take notes and act upon it immediately and you live a better life, that is truly amazing. But whatever level of, oh my gosh, these like gnats are so annoying. Literally was like on my face. But whatever level of impact I have with someone, I'm not gonna be upset about them for not changing everything in their life. I will be upset if you don't try. And that's the deal. Like, I'll be upset if I teach someone in detail everything and they took notes on it and they showed up every day and they did inspired action and then they like dip off. That's a them problem. After that, that's a them problem. I gave them the seed, I planted the seed. If they chose to put dirt over it and water it, and like I said before, if they choose to plant the seed and harvest it, good for them. But the point is, I will always harvest fruit. Always, you hear me? I will always have a bounty from the seeds that I sow. I will, and you, again, if you listen, and you, but me and you, if we interact and you listen to wisdom and you apply it to your life, we will both reap the harvest of the fruit of the soil. Okay? That's the other part of the spiritual stuff, because I've literally had to be triggered, had to be traumatized, had to be shocked in my spirit to have this information come to me, to have my intuition work as specifically and intuitively and as sharp as it does. Okay? Because I took the time to practice what I preach. Right? Oh my gosh, that bee just wanted to jump in my face. It's crazy. But I take the time to practice what I preach, and that's why the difference of me being a Buddhist and practicing what I practice now, because some of it is completely different spiritual system than Buddhism. Buddhism doesn't believe that there is uh, a supreme God. They just believe that God exists somewhere and heaven exists somewhere, right? Um, Basically, that's the gist of any Buddhist, basically. So they don't talk about like power outside of themselves. A lot of the time, they talk about either what the Buddha taught them or the Eightfold Path, which is about their internal system and their self, right? Um, if you are unfamiliar with the Eightfold Path, it comes from the Four Noble Truths. And if you don't know what either one of those are, look it up. But basically, it's a way to end suffering. So it is a internal, personal thing that that person does in a disciplined, devotional way, and they show up in their life by showing up as much as they can in the present moment. That's what it is, right? Um, and I'm just watching this dragonfly dance around. It's so cute. But Buddhism, the Eightfold Path, is having the right mindset, the right attitude, the right view, the right lifestyle, the right livelihood, the right actions, um, the right, uh, I think I said views already, um, the right meditation and livelihood. If that's not eight, if I repeated one, I'm sorry. But again, look them up because it's like going either descending or ascending. You can use those to trickle into changing something else. Like your mindset changes your view on life, and your view on life changes your actions, and your actions in life change your livelihood. And your livelihood in life changes your mind, uh, yeah, mindset back in a loop. But again, you can look at the list and read it either way. It's not like follow this procedure step by step. It's hey, these are 8 paths that you could go down in life that simultaneously together help you live a life of peace, a life of no suffering, right? No dis-ease, no disease, nothing. Just you and yourself. Because spiritually, energetically, it teaches you how to preserve your life force energy and remember things clearly and ground yourself. And obviously, connecting with those deities if you so choose to, the Tara Buddha, Kuan Yin, uh, the Shakyamuni Buddha. Um, there are like 10 Buddhas that I know, like officially. I don't know all their names, but you know, Um, there's so many different ways that you can go with Buddhism, but the whole point is to make yourself a better person. Just like um, African spirituality, like they take vows and they do things strictly that are good, or to follow spiritual law, or to follow the laws of earth, the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, whatever you want to say. But um, I would not say that they are about peace, but they're about maintaining peace or balancing peace. Um, but again, I'm not initiated into any of these things, um, any of these gate kept practices, religions, societies, groups, cultures, cults, none of this. I'm, again, just from what I know, just from my experience, just from what I've learned, just from my intuition. So, the thing about preserving your body and your mind is that you no longer have dis-ease. You're not upset, you're not disturbed, you're not sick, you're not mentally injured, you're not anything but yourself in the present moment, right? And the thing is, we live in a society and a culture that lives and breathes and operates out of people being at dis-ease with their bodies, people being at dis-ease or disturbed by the people next to them, by their neighbors, by this city, by this country, whatever it is. Obviously, they will make up an excuse if they want to, right? We've seen it happen. Atrocities against humanity have proliferated. It is a stain on humanity, like I said with the other thing. Anyway, these things happen so that we become more aware, so that we change the outcome. Humanity has stopped wanting to change the outcome, has stopped wanting to live in the present moment. They have statistics, they have data, they have analytics, sorry. They have fortune telling with stocks, with sales, with data, anything you could think of. They're thinking of everything outside of the present moment. They're like, what happened yesterday with sales? What happened yesterday with this, with our business? What happened yesterday with this, with that? What are the measurements? What is the data? What is the analytics? Are the numbers going up or down? Are people making money or losing money? All of this stuff is literally set up and designed to keep you busy. Number one. Number two, not just stuck in a loop, but jumping through hoops, jumping through loops your whole life. And on top of that, you're becoming the opposite of enlightened. I don't know if de-evolving is the word. I don't know if descending is the word, but it's an actively unevolving society. I'll say it like that. There are pockets of research. There are pockets of hope. There are a lot of people that champion love. There are clergy members. There are religious members. There are authentic people who uplift their family and everyone they interact with. Period. And those people are uplifting humanity and helping humanity continue. Two things. So we live in a society that's actively against our spirit, number one. Number two, people are disconnected from the intelligence that their spirit gives them via their body, via their intuition, via their guts, via their thoughts, their clear thinking, their no thought. They're letting information come and pass, right? And the other thing outside of that is that people are making money from the dis-ease and discomfort. Okay? You have all these medicines and pills and synthetics and syrups and drugs, to be quite frank, but human made, engineered, not from nature. You put something else and something else together and you came up with this, right? Or plastic. We know plastic isn't one thing, one molecule, but plastic, the invention of plastic, has literally polluted the earth, which has affected humanity, okay? Which affects the way you live, okay? That is a shaking of the soul moment in itself. The pollution from plastic, right? From the invention of plastic. Um, but all the things that are sold to us as comfort or as remedies are ways that others outside of yourself, outside of what we see in society, outside of what they are providing, outside of what they are affirming and saying out loud. So that is another awakening, another spiritual lesson, another thing that I noticed from working in these different environments, these different jobs, living in different states and places, is that I've been able to see and accurately understand society, accurately understand this city, this state, this country, this way of living life, this outlook, this way of being a human, like all of it. Like I looked at it from the micro scale to the macro, and that, again, is why I want to come on here and live stream and share and talk to people. Because, again, people watch back these live streams. They don't tune in, but they click on my channel and they watch them. Either that's the algorithm or the subscribers. Either way, I'm thankful. I am thankful. Um, but I have 74 subscribers, I believe, when I last checked. And it's not like these people know me, and it's not like these people know my content, and I'm not consistently posting like a streamer or someone who's dependent on being an influencer, right? Being independent on a platform. This is something I do out of passion, but out of spirit, out of what moves me. Like this is literally, again, everything I said is true, is factual. You can look it up. You could ask someone who's experienced the same things or learn the same things as me. You could ask them if that information is true, right? Um, but another thing we need just today desperately is truth. Is telling something to someone specifically or to a group of people and them knowing it's true and applying it to their life, or them knowing it's true and being able to move on in their life. Like we don't have enough information that's told to us that we just know is true. We have some things that we're like, oh, we're shocked about, or propaganda that's completely not true, or is a fake stunt type of thing, and it's just something we interact with, and then we think that's true. So the more that we have, excuse me, there was an ant on me. So the more that we have a society that speaks truth and we know it's truth, we can grasp it immediately, then the more we would be able to trust. And that alone would lift a lot of the mental injuries that people have around trusting or not being able to trust the people around them. So they had to do live or do everything internally, right? So what I plan to do covers a lot of fields of things. Obviously, I said I want to have a book and a program and a building and a hiking trip outdoor thing. So I'm a very ambitious person, and going to this workshop is like, hey, you know all this stuff, and people are coming up to you for advice, and you gave a person advice, and it made sense. And people are tapping into your energy on the second day of knowing you. Just for a few hours. This is not the whole day. We're not sleeping over, living together, none of that. So I've known these people and seen these people for less than 12 hours, and they're all already like, oh, you're so interesting, or that's smart, or you're doing a great job. Like, it's very nice to just recap information and interact with community. Like, at base value, it's very nice to do that and to have that. But I've been live for an hour and 35 minutes, and I've, more importantly, been outside for uh, longer than that, just a few minutes longer, but I'm sweaty, and I have also simultaneously got out the connection, the channel, if you will, which was my whole point of this live. So um, I'm going to conclude that today is a good day and hydrate myself shortly. But again, I want to make more consistent lives and upload these like a podcast in a way and just bare my soul. But again, I genuinely hope that everyone who sees this, either by clicking on the video after it's posted and uploaded or just from the algorithm, I genuinely love you guys. I love everyone who stays and watches the whole video, and I love everyone who, most importantly, grasps the information and doesn't like critique the delivery of it. Like, I know the video is very shaky because I'm holding my tripod because I'm walking. But if someone, just bypassed that and is like, yeah, it's a great video, amazing, I'd be like, okay, perfect. And just move on. Like, ignore the little things. And that's another life lesson too. Like, ignore the little things unless it's enough to shift your life. Criticism isn't a big enough thing to shift your life. Okay, unless it's from someone personally and they're just being malicious, then don't look at that as a small thing. Like, hey, this is a big thing. But yeah, just don't stress the small things in life, and really get to know yourself. Like, know thyself is such a true statement. It's the truest thing. It's lived on in time. Shout out to Kemet. Shout out to my ancestors from Kemet. That was like such amazing advice that they awakened me to. But at the same time, it's like, know thyself is just you understanding yourself at every level. It's not even like it's a scary or big concept. It's like, know thyself, because if you don't know yourself, someone else can literally manipulate you, you know? And that affects everything. Um, so yeah, I just want to wrap it up and say I'm very sweaty, as you can tell, but that was the message. And look at that, even the sun has had time to go behind the clouds. Um, it's just funny to me. But yeah, that was the stream of thought, stream of consciousness. But as I like to say, that was the bird's eye view. So thank you for tuning in. Grand rising, grand afternoon, grand evening, whenever you're seeing this. Hello. And may this message find you in peace. Till next time.